Kia ora and welcome to Cinema in Context, where we discuss all things film and the connections between. This is one of our very irregular mini-sodes where we talk about something a little bit off book, off structure, not necessarily off topic, but something that warrants a smaller episode alongside our usual monthly fare. And this is going to be an exploration of the films, TV, cinema experiences that we have engaged with whilst we've been on our respective travels. So maybe we'll whip around and just share what our travels have been over the last 6 months, because we've all been to different parts of the world.
Yeah, jet setters, are we?
Jet setters. William, start us off. Where have you been?
Right, I had the privilege of going to summer school at the University of Cambridge in July, and of course, University of Cambridge is so far away from little old Auckland. So lots of plane flights from here to Kuala Lumpur, to Dubai, to London, then training around Europe, Paris. Yeah, so lots and lots of downtime where you're stuck in a tiny little box with nothing to do but watch movies.
Nice. Sarah, where have you been?
I went to England twice and America once, which sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? And on the arse end of a pandemic, if we might call it that. So back in February, I flew to London for family reasons and spent 3 months in London. So that was Auckland to Singapore to London and vice versa. And then sadly, in July, I went via Seattle back to London to deal with the same family issues after my aunt had passed away. And so that was Auckland to Seattle, Seattle via Reykjavik in Iceland to London, and then back the same way. So I think I've counted 8 international legs. And you'd think, therefore, that I'd seen quite a lot of films on those planes, but we'll get to that in a minute.
And I've just come back from a 3-week trip to the United States. So it was Auckland to San Francisco to Orlando, Florida to New Orleans, and New Orleans to Los Angeles. Was in Hollywood, stayed in Hollywood, did all of the Hollywood tings, and flew back to Tamaki Makaurau in Aotearoa. Right, who would like to kick us off with? I feel like William. You're the one that sort of suggested this. I think it's a great idea.
And I just want to check: was it going to be movies we'd seen on planes or movies we saw on our trip?
I was thinking of mainly planes.
Okay, that's great.
Just because we bring up plane movies all the time.
That's
and
right.
Every time I personally watch a movie, or I see someone else watch a movie like Inception, or
on
Dunkirk on an airplane,
yeah.
I think about how sad Christopher Nolan would be if I had filmed this on my phone and sent it to him as a PM.
Yes.
We'll jump in, William. What's a film you saw on a plane?
Okay, so funny enough, and maybe this is a common theme today, I saw a lot of what you guys have recommended over the past 2 years.
Oh, good.
So I was on Emirates through most of my flights, and they have a pretty decent library. And going through, it was like, oh my gosh, it's Lapsis. I remember Sarah talking about Lapsis.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Jeremy, your recommendation was Barb and Star go to Costa del Mar. Vista del Mar, sorry. My goodness. So real quick, Lapsis is an interesting movie.
Is this a French musical?
No.
Are you joking?
No. Which one is Lapsis?
Oh, you are adorable, if only. No.
It is the super indie kind of sci-fi exploration of gig economy.
Oh, is this the one with the laying of the cables
laying of the cable,
in the forest?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of the Adam Driver as a Marianne
Oh.
Oh,
Cotillard.
you're thinking of Annette.
Annette,
Yeah.
It's an interesting movie. I don't think it was a very good plane movie, and we'll get to plane movies later on, because maybe it's just the exceedingly high amount of oxygen. But I found the movie really boring. I'm sorry, because it was slow, it was walky. The ideas are great, but the main character, I don't like it when you have a main character whose sole purpose is to become the audience surrogate and go, what's this do? What's that do? How does this world work? I thought he came off as just kind of doofusy. The ideas were fine, and it was obviously super low budget, but I really appreciate watching it and your recommendation. Just not a great play movie for me. Now, Barb and Star, on the other hand, perfect play movie? Question mark.
And it might be because of the added oxygen
Oh my
in the air.
gosh! I was laughing loud.
I bet.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think I would enjoy it even more on a plane because I enjoy it on the ground, but you need to be slightly drunk on oxygen, shall we say?
And a rum and coke with dinner.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, what a super fun movie. I think in our group chat I was saying I completely get your comparisons to stuff like Austin Powers and kind of comedies of that ilk, and we just don't get these comedies anymore. And it's ridiculous in the best way, and I really, really enjoyed that. I have one more I want to add, but I'll wait for you guys to talk about this first.
Well, here's a perfect segue, you see. So am I right that Barb and Star is the wonderful Maya Rudolph? No, it isn't.
Kristen Wiig and Annie... I don't know her last name.
Right. So you
yeah.
say Kristen Wiig and I say bloody Bridesmaids.
Hey.
Because I saw Bridesmaids back in the day, because everybody did. And why does this often happen to me? Everybody raved about Bridesmaids, and I gave it 3.5. Not 3 and a surly half. I mean, I thought it was a terrific film. But as you guys know, because we've been doing this a long time now, I have no truck whatsoever with scatological humour. So the whole, we've eaten at a restaurant and now we're all like pooping ourselves and puking and
in
everything.
a sink, Sarah.
In a sink. Oh
in
my.
a white dress.
I can't be doing with any of that rubbish. So, but I knew that I did always like Kristen Wiig and Chris O'Dowd. And so I thought, well, we'll give it another go. So many years on. So I rewatched good old Bridesmaids because I was able to fast forward the pooping in a sink or whatever the heck it was. I was able to just scruff right through that and still found it very, very charming, very funny, and was able to reappreciate scenes like Rose Byrne and Kristen Wiig trying to outdo one another in the engagement party speech and all that sort of thing.
Beautifully done.
Excellently done. So I appreciate the fact that you, among others, have raved about that film sufficiently that I was happy to return to it. The only other film... Now,
before you go on to the other film, I just want to
yes.
say, isn't Rose Byrne... I think she's one of the unsung performances in that film.
Well, we'll get to Rose Byrne in a bit.
Oh, nice.
She is just terrific in everything.
And that whole sequence with Kristen Wiig and her when they're at the tennis court and if you're growing, you're changing. Well, I think if you're growing, you're staying who you are.
Yeah, that's right.
Which the first time I saw that, I just thought it was funny. I never understood that they're always sparring for the best friend status with is it Lillian or
yes.
no? Lillian's the Helen is Rose Byrne, is Lillian the Maya Rudolph character. Anyways, it's just so brilliant. Also, John Hamm's great in that film.
Yes.
I'd
forgotten, you see, because I have a feeling that John Hamm wasn't quite anybody as much. I mean, he probably was a madman, but I hadn't watched that.
He was very much a madman, yes.
By then, was he? Yeah. And I hadn't
4 seasons
and I
was his
hadn't
thing.
seen it, you see. But so yeah, it was really gratifying to rewatch and go, oh yeah.
Nice.
Like that. But did you know Rose Byrne has been going out with Bobby Cannavale for ever such a long time, and they're both about to star, or rather support act, in some Aussie film about it looks very Muriel's Wedding, about a woman who dresses up as Dolly Parton and performs as Dolly Parton.
Yeah, I've seen the trailer for that.
And Rose Byrne obviously plays an Elvis impersonator.
Oh, maybe I haven't seen the trailer for
Well,
that.
you might have, because people can't tell that it's her, but I can.
Right.
And I wonder if that's part of the joke. Anyway, spoilers. Who knows? It's just a trailer.
What was the other film? Jump in.
The only other film, because honestly, I cannot remember. I swear to you, I cannot remember any of the other films that I saw on any of the legs. Not at all.
Wow.
But I do remember I rewatched Ocean's 11. Because I've been slagging off 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 for such a long time and going, why are they making us pay to watch them have a good time? So I thought, well, let's go back to the very beginning and see how good it was. And it's still good, but oh my gosh, do you know what's really interesting? It feels super slow. Because the editing is like old school... What is it? What is that film? 2010?
2001.
2001?
Yeah.
But do you remember, guys, in the olden days, they didn't cut things to shreds to keep our eyeballs interested. And so it feels kind of really laconic almost.
Wait, even with that
even compared with now, is what I'm saying. Compared with now. I mean, it's not like slow cinema, let's not hyperbolize, but it was really interesting how it's before Bourne and Bond and everything else has just suddenly got super, super fast. So there you go.
Nice. I really want to watch that film, having been to Las Vegas, whereas I've not seen it since that trip, which was 2019 when I was last in the States before the trip that I'm going to speak about. I only watched one film on the plane, so my other two won't be plane films, even though we discussed it at the start, and it'll be clear to you why I want to talk about them when we get to them. But that was Game Night.
Oh, that's because I've been raving about it.
So I've never seen Game Night, and you've been raving about it.
And I've been saying you like games,
I love games. I sat there thinking I'd much rather be watching two films that I felt were doing better jobs of what this film was trying to be. One was The Game by David Fincher, which I love that film, and I feel...
not a comedy, but okay.
No, but I feel that it balances the is this a game, is this not a game, in a far more enjoyable way. I thought the twists and turns were fine in this movie, but And the other film is Date Night, which I just think is a far superior film.
It's Tina Fey and
Steve Carell.
So, I thought you were going to say Clue.
No, Clue's all right. I just think that Game Night was fine, but there's some fine moments in it. I think if I'd maybe come across it as a film that nobody was really talking about, I'd be like, I quite enjoyed that movie. But because not just you, so many people, because they know I love games and movies, are like, Jeremy, you will love this film. So I think it's just been blown out of proportion for me.
Wow, what a shame this is the last ever podcast we'll do. That's the end of a beautiful friendship.
Wasn't charmed by Jesse Plemons, I guess.
Oh, no. Not even. Or Kyle Chandler.
No, it was fun. I did love
Billy Magnuson?
Yeah, how can you not
Billy
be
Magnuson?
charmed? The dopey one that goes out with Sharon Horgan's character.
Oh, it was fine. I did love her though, and I always love
Sharon Horgan?
No, our leads, our two leads, Rachel
McAdams.
Rachel McAdams and
Jason Bateman.
They were great. But also, I think you would agree that that's like the perfect plane movie. Barb and Star, I definitely think is probably even more so. But yeah, it was a good time.
I can't wait to rewatch Game Night for the 5th time.
Can I talk about my other one then? And this will be clear why. So this one I watched. I think it was on a streaming service. It was in one of the Airbnbs I was staying in, which is The Rehearsal by Nathan Fielder.
Oh, that's a TV show.
I know, but it's so. I have to talk about it because you recommended it to me. Someone recommended it to me.
I did.
Yeah.
And plus, I saw it in Hollywood or around there.
No, it might have been New Orleans.
Okay.
Yeah. But it is a riot. I don't think anything quite lives up to the first episode, which is the only one I watched in the States. I watched the rest back here. But my goodness, it is... but then I also feel quite complicit by the end of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's very creepy. And,
which I think is supposed to happen.
Oh.
I find it very awkward. My husband is a big fan, and for me, the irony is he couldn't used to watch Curb Your Enthusiasm because he found it too cringy. And I think my issues with The Rehearsal are not so much this is too cringy and uncomfortable, but that I feel that complicity or that awkwardness around the fact that these are real humans. And I'm not sure where I sit in terms of being party to that, as you say.
I agree, but I did find that first episode was just a perfect episode of whatever it is Nathan does and does so well.
It is genius. I don't dispute that.
Yeah. And it goes to places that you do not expect a TV show going ever. Kind of stripping back of artifice of Hollywood as a whole.
Yeah. Especially around child actors.
Oh,
I think the critique of what and the complicitness of everybody else, all the adults in the room, is just kind of, I guess, both the thing that makes it so uncomfortable and probably the core of what that show is trying to do. It does feel though like they made the pilot and then they kind of made a different show from episode 2 onwards. But yeah. Did you had another film, William?
Yeah. And kind of just thinking about plane movies as a whole, one of the things I love doing is kind of peeking at what people are looking
I was about to say that. That's right. Seeing what other people are watching.
Yeah. So, Sarah, what on your planes has been the film du jour?
It's interesting you say that because for me there is no pattern. I walk up to the bathroom and as I walk back I'm like, oh, nice movie. Oh, good movie. Oh, I see you're watching that. But I saw a lot of people watching The Lost City. And the irony is, it's not ironic, sorry, but the coincidence for me is that I had seen it in London when I was there. I went to the cinema to see it. I had to review it. And thereafter, Now, I don't know whether to spoiler this, so let's just say there's an incredibly surprising / shocking moment in The Lost City that had me in the cinema going, oh my God, I can't believe it. And so I found that most of what I watched on aeroplanes was looking over the seat to watch the person, to wait for this particular scene to happen in The Lost City to see how the fellow passenger would respond to that particular moment. So that's really how I passed my time. What about you?
For me, I think Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was a firm favourite, decent film. Lots of Star Wars. I think my brother sitting beside me went through Star Wars episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
And didn't mind it being on... I mean, I know he'd seen them before, but didn't mind the small screen.
Not really. He was just fast-forwarding through the good bits.
See.
And it's like,
right.
okay.
Passing the scatological humour. Yeah, good call.
In that Star Wars
and the racism.
That makes it a quick watch. No, okay, yeah.
And a lot of people are also watching Succession. Which I actually tried 2 episodes of on the plane, and I liked it, but I thought it was too intense with plane viewing. I thought Succession was going to be a Arrested Development style comedy. It's not. No. It's not.
I mean, it's funny.
It's funny.
It's funny in a different kind of way.
It's very intense.
It's funny in the way that Midsummer might be considered funny if you're like completely crazy. But no. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so I think I will return to it because I know you sing its praises,
oh my
Sarah.
God, it's amazing.
But 2 episodes is like, I'll switch to something else. And the thing I switched to is another Sarah recommendation. And kind of brings me full circle to something I said in a previous episode, and that episode being the Lego Movie Part 2. And our Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, where I made very, unfortunately, derogatory comments towards a film called Peter Rabbit. Yes, I hated Peter Rabbit with a vengeance, and I deemed it the downfall of cinema, basically.
Peter Rabbit 1 or 2?
1.
Okay.
1. So on the plane, I watched Peter Rabbit 2, The Runaway, or as I like to call it, Peter Rabbit 2, Rabbit in the City. Jeremy, have you seen Peter Rabbit 2?
I have not.
The Runaway.
I have not seen Peter Rabbit 1.
I'm just going to make a statement, which I think this film is a film of genius.
Yes!
Pure genius.
Why don't we keep doing a podcast, William? We don't need more than 2 people in a podcast.
Yeah. I mean, you can do the intro. Yeah. Okay, so last year a movie came out called Matrix Resurrections. That tried to do things in a fun, meta way. Oh, what if we made a Matrix movie about how it was impossible to make a Matrix sequel? Well, tut to that, because Peter Rabbit 2 does everything that movie does, except it succeeds in ways the Matrix can only dream about. So it's a movie about, and I tried to crunch it down, it's about the inherent tension in taking one of the most benign and kind of, pastoral, some would say boring IPs of our time, which is Beatrix Potter's, animal books, where they go on cute little adventures, and trying to bring that to the big screen as a zany CG kids flick. And the whole movie is about how difficult that is, because since the events of Peter Rabbit, he's become a hot commodity, and they're trying to make a Peter Rabbit the movie. But unlike The Matrix, which treads similar ground, this movie treads this ground with the lightest of touches. It's so clever. It's very, very funny. Domhnall Gleeson and Rose Byrne, as we've talked about right now, they are joys to watch. It's kind of a rom-com when they're around, surrounded by little CG critters. It's super smart. It balances like snark with real, I would say, almost industry level, like, kids don't want to see country stuff. Kids want this, and kids want this. And yet, it's also strangely hewing close to the original tone of the books. And it had, some people have said this is a movie that tries to have its cake and eat it too. It's carrot. And eat it too. And you may agree or disagree, but I think this movie just nails that feeling about trying to take a property and twisting it into a Hollywood standard and making fun of that while at the same time doing that.
It's
very, very fine-tuned, and I love it. And I'm so sorry about, trashing Peter Rabbit, because I understand now. I'm a true believer.
No, to be fair, I don't think that Peter Rabbit was as good of a film. And Peter Rabbit 2 is terrific. And I think that the same can be... the same cannot be said for Paddington, but Paddington 2 is better than Paddington 1.
Paddington 2 is so good.
Even though both are good. Yeah. So, look, and the nice thing about Peter Rabbit 2, because I know that we are now trying to convince Jeremy to see it, the nice thing is, for me, there's plenty of stuff that adults enjoy, because I took my 5-year-old nephew, and I took him when he was either 3.5 or 4, and it was his first cinema experience, and I laughed like a drain through the whole film. And there's a bit where Peter Rabbit is walking along the street of London, I guess, feeling all sort of downtrodden. And I'm fairly sure that because the musical cues are for the adults. And doesn't it play, I wander down, wandering down, whatever.
The Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Right, and I'm like, that's so clever. Joyful film, and now you've made me want to see it again.
Hey.
So thank you for that reciprocal recommendation that we are now just bouncing back and forth across. That's wonderful.
Nice. Well, shall I bring us in for a landing with my final film?
Go
Nice
for it.
and nice metaphor.
Thank you. So I was in Hollywood, staying in Hollywood, and went and took photos in front of the TCL Chinese Theatre, and was lucky enough to go see a film there. And they were playing a 4K laser technology version of the 1975 summer blockbuster classic Jaws.
Wow.
And so went along and saw Jaws in this beautiful, huge cinema. Have either of you been inside?
Only not to watch a thing, but I've been in, yeah.
It was wonderful. The chairs were very strange. You kind of sat on them normally, and then if you just lean back slightly, the whole thing sort of reclined.
Yeah.
But not in a way that kind of gave you a good view of the cinema, so I sort of had to sit forward the whole time. But it was wonderful. It was such a wonderful film. Jaws is incredible. I still jumped at parts. The film definitely gets less and less scary as the movie goes on, as you see more of the shark. But there are still sequences in that film that are shocking today. And the character work, the invention of a cinema language, or part of this invention, which sort of starts, the summer blockbuster, which starts with, Planet of the Apes in 1968, Jaws in 1975, and then truly kind of codified with Star Wars 1977. It's just wonderful to see Spielberg playing with the form and all the different pieces that he's drawing from.
And what a wonderful environment for you to see it. I know you've seen it before, but obviously, what a wonderful environment in which to see it.
Yeah, it was cool. And someone came out and sort of introduced the film.
Oh, wow.
I will be honest, though, I misunderstood the laser technology part. I thought there was going to be a laser light show in the film. And I was really confused. I was like, what part is this going to happen? And it's going to be really distracting. Yeah. But my gosh, John Williams is a genius, right? I mean, that film is mostly Steven Spielberg doing brilliant character work and John Williams' score doing all the work for creating one of the most terrifying movie villains of all time.
That you don't see most of it.
Well, thank you for listening to another episode of Cinema in Context, even our Minisode right here. If you enjoyed our podcast, then please share it with your film-loving friends. You can listen to Cinema in Context through SoundCloud, Spotify, Radio Public, Amazon Music, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube, which are great places to let us know what you think of this minisode and give us suggestions for future films to discuss and compare. Look out for our next film, our next episode. Look out for the film we're making. That would be a nice little side hustle.
Yeah, that's right.
But look out for our next episode, which will be coming out in a few weeks for our November kind of season. And until then, no ora mai.